So Heinz Gerd Lange is an international lecturer, seminar leader and trainer for breathwork, metaphysics and personal transformation, and specialized in mind repatterning, bioenergetic integrity and life shifts. He's the director of the Institute for Breath Therapy and Transformational Healing in breath in the UK and Germany, National Breathwork Representative for Germany, member of the Integrity Committee and Science Team of the IBF. And there's a lot more. Founder and chairman of the Atemverein, the German Breathwork Foundation. Together with his wife Lera, he runs the Life Mastery and Breath Mastery programs that have already trained hundreds of breath therapists internationally. Welcome, Heinz Gerd.
Thank you very much. Nice introduction, yes. Well, basically, since 25 years, I'm doing breathwork, teaching breathwork. And even in my youth, I was always interested in consciousness expansion, human potential, how to grow, enlightenment. And my late teenage time brought me to India in search of enlightenment and all kinds of different kind of world religions. So I worked myself through, first in the youth, my Christianity, and then later on Hinduism, Tibetan Buddhism, Qigong, Tai Chi, whatever there was. And finally in Australia, I connected for the first time to conscious breathwork. And conscious breathwork really brought everything together. And for me, well, today there's a lot of our colleagues, they will be talking about the health side of things, and they will maybe also about the trauma side of things and how to work with the nervous system and stress release and things like that. But like for me, one of the main attractions or the main key elements of breathwork is the potential for personal transformation and the spiritual development of yourself. You know, I believe that I'm not just a human having a soul. I believe that I'm a soul being in a human body. And so if you look at it like that, then it becomes important what you actually do with your life, not just like sort of, yeah, I want to, you know, have all my bodily needs met and have a nice house and this and that, which is all wonderful and great, but also an internal journey. And for me, the internal journey has started or brought everything together with breathwork. And what excited me then about breathwork has never left me. And at that time when I really connected, I never thought I would be teaching about that or, you know, even, you know, it was all for myself. But now since 25 years, you know, I found something which really works for me and basically works for everyone who's engaging with the breath work. So I chose the topic today as the conscious breath work as a tool for personal transformation and for spiritual development. So I want to talk a little bit first about the personal development and then the spiritual development side of things. Like when I came connected to breath work 25 years ago, you know, all we had was saying, wow, breath work works and it's great and you should really try it, and sort of just personal sharing about the effectiveness and the beauty of breath work. And now, when that movie came out, What the Bleep, you know, science entered the energy and breathwork world. And this got really exciting for me because, like, before we could only talk about our experience and people could dismiss it or take it or try it. But then when science entered, a lot of people started to listen suddenly, and we could explain what we knew was happening anyway, in a much better way. So, and that's why I'm member of the science team for the IBF, and now I'm going to be talking a little bit about the scientific side of breathwork or mind change, and not trying to bore you or something like it, but giving you an aspect about what is possible and why it is possible. Because I believe when you understand how you can do things, then you can actually do them. And like in this way, conscious breathwork is the perfect tool for that. So I'm gonna switch on sharing the screen, and I'm a visual person, so like you will see a lot of pictures which I find explain to me very nicely how things are working and why it is working. So Greet, if you could just record questions, and we will answer the questions later on. And yeah. Okay, so there is somebody in front of me now. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. Can you see those things? Is that all working? Oh, no, not yet. Ah. Yep. Thumbs up, somebody, can you hear me? And okay, perfect. Okay, so personal transformation for me starts actually with thoughts and thinking. Because if I'm not aware about what I'm thinking and what motivates me and where how do I know, how can I change? And that's how we're using conscious connected breath work. So the interesting thing is that although we believe we are very self-independent and we can create our world how we like, a lot of our being is actually run on automatic, and we're also automatic thinkers. Like we roughly have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and there's various ideas about it. Is maybe only 95% or 90% of those thoughts we're having every day really conscious thoughts. So like the human mind consists of conscious thoughts, subconscious thoughts, and unconscious thoughts. So conscious thoughts are the thoughts you're aware of, that you are thinking about what you're thinking. And subconscious thoughts are you are aware of that you have, but you don't really are conscious of them. And then there's also the unconscious thoughts. You're not even aware that you're having those. And I mean, a lot of the unconscious thoughts are running, on a biosystem and are concerned about, survival and so on and so on. But where the change can happen is basically in the conscious thoughts. So I quickly run you a little bit how our brain is organized, so that you can understand how things are really happening in our personal development. Because when you understand how you acquired your thoughts and thinking, then you have also possibility to change that in a very effective and quick way. So either we start top down or top up. Okay, the reptilian brain. In the reptilian brain, this is our oldest part of the brain. That part of the brain governs all functions, all physical functions, and every task you have really internalized. Yeah, the limbic system is sort of the more emotional brain. It is concerned with like coloring your experience with the appropriate emotions. And neocortex is the part where you're computing, where you're thinking about things. The new ideas develop, especially in the front part of the neocortex, the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is a really important part because this is where you create new ideas, new possibilities. Like when you have for the first time an idea, I should be doing this. This happens in the frontal lobe. And then it gets computed through the neocortex. It filters through the limbic system and gets colored with like, I like this or I don't like this. And if you think it often enough and feel it strongly, it will finally go down to the reptilian brain and will be an automatic thought, which needs a trigger, and automatically you will think that, even you're not aware about that. Yeah. So, for example, like when you're as a little child, when you first learning to walk. You know, this is the idea. You're walking, I want to walk, but you have to think about, I put my foot forward and I go here, and you know, to cross the room is a big step. Or to climb up on I don't know if you ever seen a child climbing up on a couch, you know, like they do it 20, 30 times till they finally succeed. So in this way, it filters down into the reptilian brain, and later on you don't even think about how walking, or you don't think about getting onto the couch. So how our brain is organized is, this is a neuron. We have about, I don't know, about like 100 billion cells, neuron cells in the brain. And these is one bit of information is stored in one of those neurons. Neurons connect with other neurons to make an information, and basically whatever you learn is then hardwired into your brain. So here you can see there is several neurons linking together, and that is an information piece. Yeah. For example, like when you're a little child, you never seen an apple before. Your mother shows you the apple, and you don't know what that is. But it's the first information bit is like it's round, it's green, or it's red, or whatever it is. And these bits are put together, and then your mother said you can eat it, more, and this adds to a network which finally is like apple. And then after some time, the mother holds an apple, and the child, yeah, I want it. Yeah. And later on, through experiencing, that network is enlarging, it's changing. Well, there's also green apples, they're sour or sweet or this or that. And in the end, you develop a liking. I like this and I like that. And for example, like if you don't like sour apples but sweet apples, somebody holds up a green apple and you, no, I don't want that, I want that one. So you don't have to think about it anymore, it has become automatic. Now, all the information transport in the brain is actually through bioenergy. It's luminescent. It's like light is moving through all those neurons. And the way how it happens is that thoughts you think very often, they create a bigger path, sort of like a tree has like many roots. And the main roots are the biggest automatic thoughts. But there's also possible connections to thinner thoughts. So if you look at that picture down there on the bottom, there's a very wide branch, and in the middle there's a very thin branch. So what that would suggest is that the big branch is a thought you have very often, or the connection you think very often. And the thin branch, is a thought which is new or not so established as so far. Like I call it, this is an information highway and a bicycle path, you know? And where it becomes interesting is because, like, let's say in your youth, in your childhood, you've been told you're not good enough, or you will never be good, or like some negative kind of thinking. And we will talk about this later, you know, how you actually work with that. But that is a thought you maybe think very, very often. And you finally decide, well, I'm not as capable, other people are better, and so on and so on. Now you're coming to a personal development job, workshop, and you find out, no, I'm actually a good enough person and I can create what I want. And that would be, instead of the information highway, would be the bicycle path. It's a new thought. And the way how that works is that the neurons which fire together wire together. That means whatever I think a lot of the time will get bigger, and whatever I think a little bit will become smaller, and vice versa. So over a period of time, negative thoughts can be transformed into positive thoughts. The thing though is with our thinking is it's always going to be automatic. So in order to change your negative thinking into positive thinking, you have to create a new habit. Yeah? We are wired to be like that. So here you can see a neuron firing around and actually transporting information. Here also, and there you can see in this picture, although the quality is not so good, there is a lot of information going some way, and other branches of the neuron is not even used. So basically what it means is that our brain is continuously under construction. It is always trying to make connections to that what you think a lot, and it's trying to disengage what you're not thinking. Because although we have like billion of neuron cells, there's still a limited amount which we can use. So here you can see that when you are newborn, the density of the neurons in the brain are very, very small. And the baby basically is like a sponge. And I'm talking about brainwaves in a second. The baby is just so completely open, and whatever information comes in from whatever side will be stored in the baby's brain. And it creates, because there's new information, it creates a new neural network. Over 9 months, it becomes dense, and finally, in 2 years, it becomes even denser. Now, what happens there is you can see the adult, and it doesn't look much denser than basically 2 years. But what happens then is like that the baby has already learned how to walk, has already learned how to eat, and those neural networks, they get pruned away because they're automatically stored now in the reptilian brain. So what the adult has, it looks less dense, but it is the same density. Okay, so why is that important for us? Like our brain functions in a couple of different kind of brain waves. Like beta brainwave, which is on top, is your everyday normal life experience. This is about I'm working, I have to go shopping, I'm thinking, active. Alpha brings you a relaxation. Sort of we're doing a little guided meditation and we're coming down, we're doing a little bit of breathing, and we're coming down to alpha. Now theta is getting even more down, sort of hypnosis calls you back into theta. And delta finally is like the sort of a dreamless sleep state, but it can also be conscious. And all this relates back to a breathwork session, and I will talk about this a little bit later, because like we're starting at beta, we're starting to breathe for a certain period of time, we get into alpha. And we have our experiential experience in a breathwork session, and in the integration phase, we're going down to theta, and we're going down into delta, and back into theta, and then finally coming back through alpha, back into beta. And this is really, really, really important, because our brain function is linked to the programs we receive between 0 and 2 years, 0 and 7 years, 14 years, and also in lifetime. Okay, so just to complete the picture is that every thought has an emotion attached, and it's either pleasant or unpleasant. Like you think it's raining. And depending if you are in the desert or if you are in England, you think, oh, it's raining. Or thanks God it's raining. But it's your interpretation. But every thought has an emotion to it. And every emotion has a sensation attached to it. And it's also pleasant and unpleasant. Because basically humans are just binary systems. I like it, I don't like it. I like it, I don't like it. I want to have more, I want to have less. And the body has to have a way to understand what is my emotion. And the emotions are governed by chemistry, inner chemistry. So if I'm thinking a thought which is positive, I'm sending out endorphins and I'm feeling good about it. And if I'm having a thought which is not very nice for me, I'm sending out stress hormones, cortisol, and so on and so on. And this happens automatic. I don't have any influence in it. And these peptides or messenger chemicals, they work like lock and key. That means only one specific peptide can go into one specific receptor. Here you can see, for example, this is a neural network. And different kind of receptors are different kind of emotions. So like here you have a mix of different kind of emotion, and it might be a happy feeling or a not so happy feeling. But basically the mix creates whatever is your emotion. And if you look at that, that is an emotion moving through your body, arriving at receptors in a specific period of time. So if you feel happiness, there's a lot of endorphins going through. If you feel negative feelings about it, then stress hormones are filtering through the system. Now, why is this important? Because our hardwired thoughts creating a hardwired chemistry response. And our hardwired chemistry response creates a certain type of thinking. That means my body is actually asking for that, what I mostly think. So if I'm more a negative type of person, then I will think like that more, because also my body will feel like that. And my body will actually trying to get me into that, what it's used to. It's like an addiction behavior. And so like you have to consciously start changing the way how you're thinking in order to be able to change how you're feeling. Okay. So like now we have these times of stress in the moment and lots of anxiety, and many people are we've heard that domestic violence is on the rise because people are close together, all these COVID restrictions. And one good breathing technique to conquer stress or any stressful situation, and Gerd already talked about it, is 20 conscious connected breath. So anytime you're having a strong emotion, you're having a strong feeling, you are angry or you're jealous or you're sad or something like that, and it creates a certain setting of chemistry in your body which will last for a while. Now to counteract that chemistry, we're using conscious breathing to convince our mind that actually we are okay and that we are not needing to stay in that emotion. The interesting bit is like the brain is totally concerned with the way how we're breathing. Every emotion has a different type of breathing pattern. You're breathing differently when you're angry than you're happy. You're breathing differently when you're stressed than when you're relaxed. And the brain is continuously scanning the body, and the body is continuously giving messages up to the brain. This is how I breathe. This is how we do. And the brain interprets it then into how do you feel? So when we're talking in the science bit a lot about dysfunctional breathing patterns, which people have acquired over a period of time during their life cycle. So it could be that you are breathing in a way that your brain will interpret that you're in stress, although you're not in stress, and react in this way. So 20 conscious connected breath is a really good technique. It's one of the first breathing techniques discovered by Leonard Orr in the 70s, and it's been an all-time classic ever since. And I suggest that we quickly do it. It's not a long exercise. And anytime you're feeling stress or you're feeling a strong emotion and you want to calm yourself down, this is the perfect way to go about it. So it's breathing in and out through your nose for a shorter but full breath, and one time a long breath. And then we do this 4 times, repeat it 4 times. And If you really are, suddenly agitated and really angry, then it could also be done through the mouth. But let's do it now through the nose. We charging up our energy through nose breathing. So if you just want to follow me, so we're breathing in and out through the nose 4 times short. And full long. And we repeat 4 times. Last time. And then feeling for a few moments the energy. Probably you do feel the energy in the body, in the system. Also a lightness in the head. Some clearing has happened. And some centering, some grounding has happened as well. So this is an emergency tool. You can do it anywhere, everywhere. Fantastic little technique. Okay. So like this will come back later. This is our website, and we will talk about this later a little bit again. So, okay. Now we looked at the personal transformation side of things, but we are not just a brain and we're not just a body. So thinking about how to change my life and consciously engaging with that is actually supporting me to change my life. We have a technique, and I didn't talk about this really before, but I will mention it now, people are thinking that they have to think what they're thinking. But it's not true. If your thoughts are 95% automatic, then you're not really in charge of what you're thinking. Your thinking is habitual. It is automatic. So in order to become aware of what you're thinking, you have to actually watch what you're thinking. You must have all experienced at a certain period of time that suddenly you're thinking something and you suddenly become aware and think, why am I thinking this now? Or where did that come from? And this is basically the automatic thinking unwinding itself all day long. Some trigger, you like it, you don't. Some trigger, you want it, you don't. And so on. So, like what I'm suggesting is to start becoming aware of what you're thinking and then decide, is this a thought which supports me? Is this a thought which helps me in my development? Is that a thought which gives me a good, positive feeling, endorphins, or does it give me stress hormones? And if you decide this is a thought I don't really want to entertain anymore, well, you don't have to. You could just, and there's numerous techniques like a big red pen to cross it out, old thought, no, my new thought is, or for example, my wife, she uses a paint roller, like how you paint the wall and paint and rolls that thought out and puts the new thought in. And as we talked about it before, the new thought is first a little bicycle path. It's just a thin line where the light is running through to your brain. But the more often you think it, and the more you have an emotional positive feeling about it, the more that thought develops in a new automatic highway thinking. Yeah. And over a period of time, you will be able to anchor that new thought into your system. Okay, so thought hygiene, I call it, and I'm currently working on developing the web page. It should be ready next week or something like that. www.thoughthygiene.com. And it gives you an idea of how to work with, and it gives you a few tools about it as well. Okay, so the exciting thing about conscious breath work is that, yes, and my Gerd talked about it before, that actually in the integration phase of a breathing session, we're working with affirmations, and I will tell you later why and how that actually works to our developmental states. So, but as I said before, we are not just a body. And even the body, if you look at this picture, and this is Alex Gray's picture. I use 3 of Alex Gray. He's a gifted visionary using mind-altering substances, and then he's been visualizing. He's seeing these things. But if you look at the body, our body is an electromagnetic system. You know, and for me, it is basically the spacesuit in which my soul is having a 3-dimensional experience. So now, because I'm going into energy and soul, all this, the scientific side of things is disputed. Not everybody is following align what I'm saying here, but this is my conviction about it. So we are a multi-layered energy system. And even science nowadays is warming up to the idea that we are an energy system. We have like numerous different techniques how to measure. There's, for example, on the left side, you see this is a Kirlian photography of the bioluminescence of a hand. Or if you look at the right picture, this is a PIP scan, or how they call it now, a new energy vision system. And it measures the emittance, the energy emittance on the body system. And you can see that in this picture, there's different densities and they correspond with the chakra areas and also with the surrounding field. Or there's a bioresonance measurement and bioluminescence, and there's different kinds of system. Like in the body, it measures how is your energy field before a session and after a session. How is the alignment of the chakras before a session and after the session? Yeah. So what is interesting is like to understand that we are energy. Although we look manifested, it looks seemingly like a solid skin and a solid body, but it's not at all solid. If you start, magnifying it 80 times, you start already, seeing atoms. And if you're magnifying atoms 1,000,000 times, you're seeing protons, neutrons, and so on and so on. And in the end, if you keep on magnifying, you end up at quarks. And nowadays, quantum physics, we understand that this is a potential, this is a possibility, it is not a certainty. So consciousness creates out of energy the experience you're having right now. And the densest energy you have is your physical experience, and less dense is your emotional body, less dense is your thought body, and even less denser is your spiritual body, till the outer frame sort of melts back into the quantum ocean. And you only have to think about it. Like, I'm having an idea from the spiritual world that I'm thinking about it, it becomes denser, and then it moves into the emotion about it, and finally it arrives in my body. Same way, if I have a negative thought, I have a negative emotion about it, and eventually it manifests in my physical being as an illness, as a disease, as an organ problem, or something like that. So these fields are held together by the chakra system, and I think you most know about it. And those chakra systems are actually digesting energies of other people and the energies around you. And If you give loving energy, it is a frequency where the heart is. If somebody shouts at you and doesn't allow you what to do, it is more a solar plexus issue. And we all have experienced, if you have an argument, in the end it feels like, oh, my tummy is hurting. It's a terrible experience. So like when we are lying down in the breathing session, we're starting as like this type of an experience. We're breathing, conscious, connected, and we are starting to increase the energy level in our system. Whoever's done a breathing session so far, after about 10 minutes, you feel some tingling, you feel maybe waves, you feel warmth, you feel prickling, this is the energy starting to move. And the energy is starting to move from your physical system into your emotional system, into your mental system, into your spiritual system. That means all the chakras start to open up, all the fields are starting to open up. And what happens is, through the increase of the pranic energy which you're breathing in, you're raising the level of frequency which is present in your system. And what happens is that when you're raising the frequency, everything which is dense and heavy starts to fall out. That means when my energy raises up, my stress, my negative emotions, they start to become too heavy and they rise to the surface. And the surface is our consciousness. That means I'm becoming aware of an emotion. I'm becoming aware of a thought. And by allowing me to be with that thought, by allowing to be with that emotion, it starts to be acknowledged and it starts to move out of the system. And this is how our transformation happens on a spiritual level or on an energy level. Because like our experience is that with conscious breathing, the changes in our psychospiritual system, in our thought system, is so much quicker than, for example, just counseling alone and like, because here we're working simultaneously on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the mental level, and also on the spiritual level. And I really like that, because people come in for a breathing session, oh, I have this problem, oh, I want to change this or that. And then in the end, they go away and they are spiritually raised, they are enlightened, they have new thoughts, they have new possibilities, they feel completely different. So even if you just come for an ailment or if you come for an emotional release, you end up being spiritually elevated in the end. So, and then this is basically how it looks when you are in the bliss state. After having the release, everybody experienced in the third part of the session, feeling really well, feeling heart connected, feeling well. So that means all the chakras, and you don't only have these 7 main chakras, you have chakras in the outside fields, everything is lighted up. And most people who have experienced these states in a breathing session, when you're feeling, oh, wow, super. If I could put that in a bottle, I'd be a millionaire. So it feels so good, so wonderful and that's why people, oh, I want to do this again. And what happens is that in the breathing session, we're starting with the agitated brain waves. And in the end of the session, they're calming down and we're blissed out, we're feeling really well, and we're feeling good. Now, why is this important and how does it impact? How does it work? Okay, so I showed you these brainwaves before. Like the delta is the deepest of the brainwaves, theta is higher, alpha and beta is our normal everyday's life brainwave. So why am I showing you this again is to go back one step in our human development. Because in the time between 0 and 2 years, when there's a toddler, toddlers live basically in delta brainwave. They are not consciously thinking about things. They are not contemplating about things. They are wide open. They're sponges. Everything which is presented goes in. This is what Mother Nature needs, because babies are born, well, incapable on one level to survive. Because like in nature, usually a calf or a deer or something gets born, within an hour it's running, eating, and be able to survive. Like human babies aren't. Developmental, we need to be able to survive till about 2 years old. But if the fetus would stay in the mother till 2 years old, nobody could be born anymore. So nature had to decide, well, okay, this child has to learn as quickly as possible what is there. So children are in delta, and toddlers are in delta. And this is important to remember. There is no conscious decision about, is this a right, is this good, is this whatever. Whatever is presented goes in. Then from 2 till 7, children live in theta. Mainly in theta. Theta is when we are completely relaxed and completely in our own world. And you know, all the children, if they're playing, they're in their own world. You can't even disturb them. They are not really present to everyday's life. They are in their own world, theta world. And theta is also a state where you don't think about it, where you don't think, is this right? Is this wrong? Should I believe this? Should I not believe this? And so everything what in this period of time is told by parents or the grown-ups around you, it just goes in straight. And if somebody tells you life is hard, or you got to work very hard to make this, or daddy has to work a lot to make a living, well, this is the information which goes in straight and gets anchored on the deepest level. Now, when we are developmental growing up, between 7 till 16, sort of teenage time, we're starting to live more in the alpha world. You know, if you still, you know, teenagers, they're also in their own world. You know, everybody who has kids, they will understand that, well, you know, hey, I'm talking to you, and like, oh, what? And so like, they living in an alpha world. Alpha world is still wide open, but you can start to have your own thoughts. Hence, teenage, the rebellion. No, I don't want this. No, I want my own thing. No, I don't believe this. This is your world. So you have the capacity now to think about it and decide if this is what you want or this is what you don't want. But you're still wide open. So like the teachers and the parents and the people around you, they still get into right in your subconsciousness. So if you're grown up, then you live in beta. And this is everyday's life, and I go to work and I go hard and here and go shopping, doing this and so on and so on. This is beta. Most of the time we're in beta. And that's why everyone is stressed, because we're not enough relaxing and calming down, which breathwork, yoga, meditation, and so it comes all in to keep your life normal and happy. So why am I talking about this? Because this is really important in a breathwork session. So in a breathwork session, it goes the other way around. We're lying down and we're breathing. Now, let me go one step back. So like if I decide to change my life, I'm doing this in beta. Yeah, that beta is like, I want to change my life. I want to become conscious. I want to go jogging every day. I want to do this. I want to do that. And we all have experienced that we make a decision to change something, and then, you know, it doesn't happen, and it doesn't, and something interferes, or the inner saboteur wins, or something like this. And this is why, because let's say in theta, in from 0 till 7, you had a program already implanted. It will not work what you do, or you're not good enough, or something like that. And these unconscious thoughts are sabotaging your conscious idea of, oh, I want to change this. I want to go to be different. Yeah. So back to the breathing session. We are lying down and decide, okay, we're going to a breathing session. In the beginning of the session, we're still in beta. we are awake and we're doing this breathing, yes, and this is the technique, and filling your breath and opening and here and there. So, and then slowly when you find your rhythm and you find your swing, you're getting into alpha brainwaves. That means you're starting to relax a little bit, you find your swing, you find your move, and very good. And then in the emotional experiencing phase, you're moving from alpha to beta, beta to alpha, alpha to theta, theta, up and down in those three brain waves. Then your emotional or mental or whatever the purge or the cleanse or whatever you've been doing has finished. The activated phase is calming down. You're going into the heart space and into the relaxation space. And then we're moving into theta. And so this becomes really important, because when I'm in the theta brainwave state, I'm actually accessing my thought patterns from 2 till 7 years. That means in theta state, I can eradicate my negative thinking and I can easily implant positive thinking. So for example, we've developed a scientific breathwork technique where, you know, consciously at that period of time when the client is dropping into theta, you're putting your affirmations in. You're helping to eradicate negative thoughts. And even the benefit of breathing session is also we're going into this delta brainwaves. That means you're accessing your program from 0 till 2, which consciously you cannot get there. No way, not even with hypnosis. But this is when sort of people in the breathing session, they're drifting away and they're kind of aware of the music and they're kind of aware of that. So like in those period of times when they're in delta and theta, this is the most fruitful time and the most effective time to change your thoughts and thinking. And then in alpha, when you come out of the relaxation state, this is when you visualize. You want to visualize your outcome, your positive way of like creation, or like what would you really would like, and imbue your whole frequency, your whole vibrational output with that vision. Yeah, so that's the power of breath work. And so basically through conscious breathing, you can set your brain free and charge and change anything you like. And okay, so like as a next little exercise, because I've been talking long and I hope it was not too complicated, and you understand now how to make the most use out of your breathing session. And either you can do it with a practitioner, or when you're doing it, let's say online, to remember that in the relaxation phase of my breathing session, I should have positive thoughts. I should think about what I want. I should visualize what I want. I should repeat affirmations to myself. And that goes straight down into the subconsciousness. Perfect time, perfect thing. Okay, so as I said before, my opinion is that I'm a soul having a body, not a body who has a soul. And it's really about spiritual development and developing my capacity to the utmost. And coming back to anatomy, you see this little blob in the middle. Now, this is our cosmic antenna. This is the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the most important part in your brain because it connects you to your higher self and it connects you to quantum ocean around you. And I will do a little breathing exercise with you to activate the pineal gland. And activating the pineal gland is it coincides with the third eye chakra, and it will allow you to open up to telepathy, to intuition, to different kind of possibilities to use your brain in a higher way, not just for thinking, but to connecting to the universe, to creation itself. And the pineal gland is becomes then an antenna to download cosmic information of a higher intelligence as we as a three-dimensional human can usually muster. And you must have also experienced that in your lives. Sometimes there comes a thought, and of such a quality that, or at least I experienced it, where I think that is a really high thought. And I don't think I could have had that thought just out of my own possibility. There is something drops in, which is like, wow. And the pineal gland is that antenna. So I will introduce you to a breathing. Do we have still time? Yes. So I will introduce you to the breathing technique to activate your pineal gland. Okay. So I'm saying it quickly and then we will do it. And I guess then I'm at the end. So we need to breathe in and out through the nose. Nose breathe directly connects you to the brain. And even nose breathe creates new brain cells. And through the nose breathing, we're trying to connect to the pineal gland. To the count of 5, slow, long nasal inhales, gentle, long breath. And you close your eyes and you focus your eyes like as if you would look inside to the pineal gland. And then when we're breathing like this, imagine that it lights up like a light bulb. Yeah? And eventually, while we're doing this for a few minutes, imagine that the whole brain is lighting up as a light bulb. And we continue that for a few minutes. And then at your own time, maybe, or I will tell you, at the last inhale, you pulling that light in, you imagine that the pine cone is kind of like popping like an eggshell. Like, because through fluoridation and I don't know what other things, the pineal gland actually is crusted. We need to get rid of the incrustation. And then we exhale, we release, we come back. Okay, shall we do this? Okay, to the count of 5, nose breathe. Close your eyes, have your eyes pointed on the pineal gland. I'll show the picture again. Just in there. Count to 5 in. Count to 5 out. Rolling your eyes back, really trying to look at the pineal gland. Imagine that it lights up like a light bulb. Because what we're breathing pranic energy right into the pineal gland. And then we do a couple more few breaths like this. And then in the end, when I'm saying, then just imagine that like the eggshell around the pineal gland will sort of pop away. So let's inhale. And then hold the breath and pop away that crust. Like as the pineal gland is expanding. Hold the breath, hold the breath. And then exhale. Just feeling and sensing how it's going. Well, you should be doing it 10 minutes. That would be ideal. And you can also use the pineal gland once you've done that to actually nasal breathe. You're breathing into the pineal gland, connecting to the highest consciousness, and exhaling, bringing the highest consciousness down into your pineal gland. This would be an exchange type of breathing. We don't have any time for this right now. So, but basically, what this will help you, this type of breathing will help you to increase your inner vibration. Because ultimately, you know, as long as we're stuck in the low vibration, then we are in fear and grief and desire or anger. And slowly, slowly, if it can raise our consciousness, we automatically enjoy love, peace, enlightenment. And this is the way conscious breathing can do. And it increases the electromagnetic field of the heart. Once you become like this, you can share this with other people. Everybody's raised their vibration, and it automatically happens exchange between people and people. And slowly, slowly, in our normal life, we are like born as a big heart with a little brain. As adults, we usually with a big brain and a little heart. And this type of breathing, this type of work, conscious breath work in all kinds of forms brings you back to the middle. Heart and brain in balance. So with this, I will close my lecture. And I mean, for everything I talked, I could talk about everything in length. So this is a synopsis. If you are interested in finding out more, write to me. There's my email, info@inbreath.org. www.inbreath.org is our webpage. And right now I'm working on www.thoughthygiene.com. It's not finished yet, but next week I hope.